Okay, good afternoon, everyone. My name, for those of you who don't know me, my name is Eva Gonçalves, and I am a director here at the National Bank, Director of Economic Education and Technical Cooperation. And it is my pleasure to welcome you on yet another Megatrends talk after quite a long summer break, but we're happy to be here with such an esteemed and distinguished guest. You will hear from Jens Hernig from PwC on the future of the automotive industry. I will just remind you of a few things of how we do things here on Megatrends. So Megatrends is a project done by National Bank of Slovakia and Institute of Banking Education, which is a daughter company of National Bank of Slovakia. So if you are interested in getting educated in the fields of banking and finance, also visit their website. There's other things on offer. As you can see, we're using Mentimeter. So after the talk, which will be about 30 minutes, you can use Mentimeter to ask your questions, but you can also ask questions in a regular way. We will be ready to hand out the mics to the audience. So without further ado, Jens, I'll hand you the mic.
Thank you so much, Eva. And good afternoon, everybody. Very pleased and very happy to be given the opportunity to talk to you today. And thanks, Michael, a lot for the invite. And also thank you to Eva and Lucia for organizing in the background so that we are able to meet today. As it was already mentioned, I'm Jens Hernig. I'm a German by nationality, but I'm here in the CEE region already for a couple of years. So originally I started with a firm with PwC in Frankfurt office, 1996. So you see a couple of wrinkles already. I moved with my wife, she's also from Germany, from Heidelberg. I moved to Prague in 2002. That was meant to be a secondment for 3 years. We liked it a lot, so we stayed there for 4 years. Our kids were born in Prague, in Podolí, Porodnice, Mam Dvojičky, identical girls. And after those 4 years, the question was whether I would like to move a little bit more south to Bratislava to lead the German business group at PwC here in Bratislava. Attractive offer. It's not 2 years, we are still here, so somehow life and center of life completely changed. And we are very happy to be here in the region. And since I'm here in the region, I have been dealing with automotive topics, which is not so surprising because, you know, Slovakia, Czech Republic, in the middle of a cluster for automotive. And I thought, you know, when looking at the agenda for today, what to put together, definitely I'm not able to predict the future of automotive industry. If I could, so then I wouldn't be standing here. But what I would like to give you a bit of an insight, and there will be a lot of data on the slides, and the slides are not all very comfortable to read, but it is not only about reading it, but maybe just about discussing the main aspects and the main messages. And maybe we can switch to that presentation. That would be very nice. So a bit of a structure I thought we put together. So first of all, maybe talking about global sales, volumes, etc., but also drilling it down a bit to the e-mobility or e-vehicle space. In that respect, I would like to give you just a couple of highlights of the results of our global PwC e-readiness study that was just published, and that also will be published here in Slovakia just in a few days, also on my LinkedIn account. So this is pretty fresh news also for you, and also Slovakia and other territories from CEE have been taking part first time this year. Focus on China, sorry, focus on China, I believe, is highly important to get the whole picture, and I will spend a couple of words there. And then, last but not least, assembly. I guess specifically for our region here, we are not a sales market, but we are a production region. So I guess it is important to also get a bit of a detail about assembly and assembly outlook. So again, I apologize already now, there will be a bit of data, and maybe starting with global August figures. So 6 million passenger cars were sold in August. This is a bit of a decrease compared to prior year, August. It is a bit less than in July. July was 6.1 million, a great start of a second half year. And overall, for the first half year, 35.1 million cars were sold, an increase compared to prior year of around 2.2%. So it is growing, yeah. So there is a slight decrease, and also the prospects for the the full year is around 74.1.2 is pretty positive, because it is a further increase compared to 2023. And in all the major markets, both China, US, Europe, there will be growth, more or less, yeah, but there will be growth. Europe is a bit struggling at the moment, both on the assembly but also on the sales side. You heard about the issues in Germany, and I will come to that in a few minutes' time. 74 million is almost pre-pandemic level, 2019, but it is well below the peak in the last 10 years, which was in 2017, when globally 80 million cars were sold. Yeah? And, you know, this is just September now. There is a little bit of an unpredictability going on. And this is about the final outcome of the US presidential elections. It is also about how Europe will finally deal with this, let's call it, undecisiveness of phasing out of car registrations with pure ICEs, so with classic ICE powertrains. And it is also about the outcome or the reaction of China, so what impact might potential tariffs and trade barriers going forward, you are well aware about that, bring in the future. And this gets me a little bit to those headlines that we are currently discussing. Yeah? So there are the China tariffs that the European Union decided that potentially can be taken into practice from 1st of November, but also Canada, for example, just issued a bill that since 1st of October there is 100% tariffs on that. One of those, let's call it, escape strategies of Chinese producers, and we are talking about battery electric vehicles here, yeah? When it gets to tariffs. And one of the escape strategies certainly can be that they decide to build where they want to sell, yeah, easily. And Xi Jinping also announced it, or is at least planning it. And you are well aware about BYD decided to build the first greenfield investment for full battery electric factory in Hungary, yeah, and it's going on. So this is something that, you know, might also be a reaction of these tariffs that are being discussed at the moment. On the other side, classic automotive industry, specifically in Germany, has been proven maybe not the most dynamic ones. Yeah? And you see it just as an example. Continental at the moment is planning for the spin-off of its classic traditional automotive segment, because it needs completely different set of strategy, including needs for further investment to cope with the requirements of the automotive transformation. Yeah? And this is a completely different topic than the topics that are being discussed at Continental with respect to the profitable classical tires business. Yeah? And that is one of the reasons why there might be potential new investors in the next year. It is not only about the cars. Yeah? When we talk about transformation and challenges specifically in Europe, we are also talking about the second layer of the transformation, which is about the batteries. I will just touch it a bit. This presentation is not too much about batteries, and it is definitely not going into technical details. Yeah? But you probably are aware that Volkswagen announced 3 or 4 years ago to build 6 gigafactories, each of those ones 40 gigawatt hours, for own battery production to become less independent from Asian/China producers. Meanwhile, it has been revealed that it will not be 6 factories, but 5 factories. Unfortunately, this 6th factory was planned to be built in our region, either Czech Republic, Slovakia, Poland. So let's say, or let's see whether this is fully stopped or whether this is just a delay. Yeah? Maybe just a few more news, and I will not go into that in all of those. But you also are aware about the discussion at Volkswagen in Germany now. This is about overcapacities of existing production plants. First time in history, there is discussion about potential closure of 1 or 2 of those plants. What can be very difficult in one country can be an advantage in another country. Yeah? Volkswagen Slovakia has been proven to be one of the most successful and profitable plants in the whole Volkswagen group on a global scale. So let's wait and see how potential impact might influence or impact the Slovak operations going forward. Yeah. And then again, back to tariffs. Yeah. Germany voted against those EU tariff decision, but it was overruled by the majority of the EU member states. And we will see whether tariffs will really protect European production and sales, because just because, so that's my view, just because you increase tariffs of some imports, it is not necessarily telling me that I now buy a European car, which was not convincing for me beforehand because I wasn't convinced about the cost and benefit structure. Yeah? So why would that influence my decision automatically? And I also believe that this tariff might not be in favor of further push for innovation of European automotive, so the full automotive supply chain. Yeah? This might even, again, block or delay those efforts to be competitive going forward with the whole transformation effort, because the transformation is happening with or without Europe. Yeah. Okay. And this is exactly going into the same direction with the 1st January 2025 emission reduction of 15% to 95 grams per fleet. Yeah? And, you know, just the discussion is not, and it is known for 5 years to all OEMs. And not all OEMs are complaining about. Stellantis is saying, what the heck are we discussing here? Just the discussion is not in favor of the consumer, of the demand, because consumers will get less confident or unsure about what is the right timing to buy a car. So it's not necessarily helping the whole cycle. Okay. A quick view on key commodities that are usually needed to make a car. Both steel and aluminium, you know, you have seen lots of volatility and accelerations during the last couple of years, specifically post-corona. This is all coming down now, so there is more predictability when it gets to pricing. But it is also clear, and this is maybe the key message here, this is also clear on the upper table, that there is a clear cost advantage for steel coming from China, and this will prevail. If we have a look at those commodities for batteries, then it is a similar picture. So for lithium, cobalt, nickel, you name it, this oscillating phase is also over. They are all coming down, and prices will remain on those levels in the short term, but also maybe in the medium term. And this is also due to overcapacities. And when you have a look at lithium mines, so the whole lithium market is dominated by China. Yeah, and there is low margin business at the moment because of overcapacities, etc. However, this is also meaning that in a way China is controlling the whole lithium market, because nobody will probably now enter or make the decision to open new mines for lithium, because it's probably not promising when it gets to profitability going forward. Yeah? So in that respect, we believe that China will still be in the lead of steering somehow where the lithium market is going to. On the other hand, and I'm not going into the details, battery technology, chemistry, physics, etc., is also changing. So in a couple of years' time, and it's already happening in the Asian markets, that lithium will not be that of an important ingredient for batteries going forward. Different topic, because when we talk about automotive, we always talk about something that you can touch. This is an emotional product. So I thought it might be interesting to have a look at the best-selling brands, yeah, at the moment. And this is first half year 2024. Toyota clearly in the lead. And this is Volkswagen brand, what we see here. If we put it all together, the whole Volkswagen group, then it would be number 2. What I find most interesting in that sheet or chart is BYD. BYD is in the top 10, but only selling either full battery electric vehicles or plug-in hybrids, no classic ICEs. So this is a clear indication about the success of this brand, coming out of the blue a couple of years ago, and now be standing very well in that ranking. If we then have a focus on full battery electric vehicles only, you know, there is currently discussion about who's in the lead, Tesla versus BYD. You know, first half year, Tesla was still in the lead with 830,000 units compared to 717 full battery electric vehicles for BYD. But Tesla is going down and BYD is going up. So by the end of the year, it will be interesting to see, you know, who will make the race, if you want to make a race out of it. Certainly, Tesla has very successful models, Model 3, Model Y. BYD probably has a better or more modern, newer model range, but it is mainly focused on the Chinese market. 87% of the total cars of BYD are sold in China, whereas Tesla has even market shares. So out of the 100% they sell, it is evenly spread to US, Europe, and China. So, you know, there is always pros and cons. So we will see how this race will end up. Then maybe having a look at the electric vehicle. This is a sheet a little bit complicated to read, but I will explain. So this is basically European territories. And what you see here is year-to-date August, the share of full battery, and the left column, or the left page, a part of the page. This is the percent, or the share of new sold cars, whether they are battery electric vehicle or not. So 87% of new cars sold until August in Norway with 87%. Only 13% of cars sold were either classic ICEs or plug-in hybrids or anything else. That's how you read this. And then the movement is battery electric vehicle sales compared to year-to-date prior year. And in brackets, you see the movement of the whole market in the territory. So what you see here is, Norway clearly in the lead. It will be tough for this remaining 13% to get to 100 because this is, statistics. Yeah. So the curve is getting more difficult to be closed. And there are the Nordics and the Benelux in the lead. You also see that Germany is struggling in selling battery electric vehicles. The incentive was cut since beginning of this year, 1st of January. And China is also increasing significantly by 13%, which means in absolute terms, this is a big number. Yeah? A much bigger number, for example, than it would be for the UK, simply because of the mere size of the territory. Yeah. Okay. And this gets me to the e-readiness study. So, quick intro. PwC has been performing an e-readiness survey now in the 5th year, and this is on a global scale. We started pretty small in the first year with only 4 countries covered, and now we have 27 countries being included in our report. More than 17,000 interviews were held, so you can read this. And this is about customer sentiment, decision-making processes, willingness, readiness to buy an electrified car, because this is about full battery electric vehicles and plug-in hybrids. And as I indicated, Poland is included the 2nd year now, and Hungary, Czech Republic, and Slovakia have been included first time. Yeah? So we took part in it. And how to get to this index? So there were 4 dimensions: government incentives and the like, yeah, with a couple of individual KPIs that formed the basis for the overall result. And, I will make it short and simple. These are the results. Slovakia is not last, but South Africa is, but clearly not in the lead. And if you go a little bit more into the details, I guess there is also some root cause. Yeah? And the root cause is here. So this is a focus on Europe. So what you see here, once you have a lack of government incentives and infrastructure, you are probably struggling in getting up in the index. Yeah. At the same time, it is not a pure logic to say that if you have government incentives on electric vehicles, you automatically will boost your sales. This is also not a law or something that would be automized. Sweden, Netherlands, and France, for example, they do not have big or at all government incentives for electric vehicles, but they de-incentivize ICE cars, yeah, by taxing CO2 output, for example. Yeah? And with that, they make ICE cars unattractive. So from an overall cost perspective, then there is close competition between BEVs and classic ICEs. So Germany, for example, they stopped the incentive for BEVs, but they have still quite fairly priced or conditions for classic ICE cars. So as a consumer, you still go with ICE. So what I want to say, it's not an automatism automatically, if you have incentives, you will benefit from it. It is about the more holistic picture, how your strategy for transformation and your policy in that respect is set up. The non-EU territories, China being in the forefront. At the same time, if you have a look at the index 3.4 and then just quickly go back, yeah, many of the Nordics / European territories are in the lead compared to China. But China, non-Europe, is clearly in the lead with respect to being ready for e-mobility. So, and with that, let me have a look at China. First of all, and I spoke about capacities already. This is a little bit, this was also surprising for me, that the capacity or the utilization of Chinese manufacturing locations, so let's call it factories and plants, is only 48% at the moment. So if they had full capacity, and remember we are talking about 74 million passenger cars to be sold this year, they could almost afford 2/3 of that demand, yeah, if they were fully loaded. It is not 100% to be compared because there is also some light vehicles and vans, but the tendency is pretty clear. It is a vast contingent or ability of Chinese plants to sell, potentially sell to the global market. And this is probably what can happen. Yeah? That, you know, once it is by far easier to close plants in China, so they are more flexible. Just imagine, and the discussion you see now, just imagine a German OEM would like to close a plant in Germany, or some French producer would like to close a plant in France. How difficult that would be compared to the opportunities of the OEMs in China. Yeah? But so there is a push, natural push for further export. And what we see here, and this is a comparison last year and this year, what we see here is that first time ever this year, there will be more Chinese more cars with Chinese brands, or Chinese brands will export more cars to Europe than Europe will export European brands to China. This is first time, never happened before. So clearly, this is also indication how progressive Chinese policies and Chinese strategies with respect to automotive are currently put into real life. But also on the local market in China, there is something going on, because the Chinese brands are getting more and more successful in their home territory. Because, and you are aware that multinationals like German brands, US brands, but also Japanese brands are big producers in China, and they are also losing significant market share in China. That is for the whole OEM, for Volkswagen as a group, this is a very difficult situation, also for some of the US brands. And China is getting very popular in their home country. Mm? So why is that? First of all, of course, price. Price, but not only this one. The young generation feels like, okay, they have been brought up with Chinese brands, not like their parents. There was a status thinking at that time that the only good car you can have is a European car. Yeah, this is history. This is history. Young people see it in China, see it completely different. And they also feel that Chinese cars are better matching with their needs, because they do not need to have a lot of steel around them. They have other questions. you know, this buzzword mobile phone on 4 wheels. And these needs are better fulfilled by Chinese brands at the moment. And last but not least, also political messaging also in social media is clearly enforcing or making Chinese brands being something you should do rather than buying from foreign countries. Last but not least, assembly outlook. This is our assembly outlook for the last couple of, for the year 2024, globally, and then on the right side you see what it means for Europe. And again, I appreciate this is a very busy sheet, but a couple of messages maybe here. Currently, globally, 13% of global production is full battery electric vehicle. In Europe, it's only 11%. But Europe will catch up, and by 2030, Europe will be relative to the rest of the world, will be doing more battery electric vehicles than on a global scale. So this is a good message. But this is forecast. It needs to be put in practice. And it is important that European OEMs will be able to go on this path, because only with a scale you will be able to be successful and profitable going forward. Second message is that, compared to the expectation for this year and 2030, yes, there is increase. It is not a huge number. It's around 10 million, 9 million, okay, percentage-wise, but it's not like accelerating. And we believe that this might be the top, 2030 and beyond. Of course, this is right. Well, this is future. Nobody knows. But the expectation might be that there will be no peak coming after that. And the growth compared to this year will be coming from China and also from India, which is amongst the other. And good thing, yes, Europe lost share since 2019, but it will keep the current share they have. But, it's not guaranteed. This is not just because we say something needs to be done in that respect. But this is our forecast in that manner. And a couple of, there is always discussion, is the transformation going on? Is electromobility really happening, etc.? Yes, it is happening, and hopefully the message was already passed through that, there is no way that there would be no future for battery electric vehicles. And if you have a look about what was the prognosis 4 years ago and compare it to the forecast based on the knowledge we have now, in all major markets, US, Europe, China, it is, accelerating compared to the expectations 4 years ago. Yeah. I'm almost at the end. So this is just another number which is about, our forecast with respect to assembly of electric vehicles this year and in 5 years' time. And you see huge increase in share of the whole market. And the majority of the increase and the growth is coming from pure electric vehicles. We believe that plug-in hybrids are a phase that will never be 100% being phased out, but the trend and the future is full battery electric vehicles for many, many reasons. Cost reasons, etc. Increase in quality of batteries, etc. And de-incentivizing ICE cars and the like. This is just the same in a different sheet that I am moving. For CEE, yeah, what does that mean for CEE? And this is the major 5, let's call it territories with majority of the production. For CEE, it means that by 2030, approximate 2.5 million cars produced will be electric vehicles. The majority being full electric vehicles, and others being plug-in hybrids and the like. This means that this would mean more than 60% of total production in those countries would be electrified, yeah? Which is a great opportunity, I believe, for this region. And the only thing I can say is that the whole value chain, OEMs, suppliers, and the politics in those territories should be thinking about their strategy going forward to be able to deliver and to take the opportunity that is resulting from the electromobility. McKinsey just calculated that last year the automotive industry in Europe contributed with 2 trillion USD, yeah? Which is a huge number. If OEMs and supply chain will not follow this transformation path, there is a risk of losing 400 billion out of that. If the European industry is clever enough and innovates and goes on the path, there is another potential for 300 billion. Yeah? So there is risk, but there is lots of opportunities out there. And with that, I would like to finish and happy to take any questions you might have. Thank you so much.